get started. Whenever born, new grooves in the latest news. Complex and interesting, take the time out to invest in straight talk wrestling. Get the facts, get the tables.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy George Mackay, back here again on Straight Talk Wrestling. It's September, Labor Day has passed, and we are now on a streamline to Wrestling Academy. And with me, as always, as you can see on the screen, is the amazing, the wonderful Jacques Rougeau. But before Jacques and I get into our conversation, let's show you everything that's happening at this year's Wrestling Academy. Check this out.
Le temps est presque arrivé. It's almost time. Lutte Académie de Jacques Rougeau, ça commence le 28 septembre à Montréal. Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy starts on September 28th in Montreal. Qui passeront en demi-finale? Who will go on to the semi-finals? Quelles sont les deux lutteuses et deux lutteurs qui gagneront chacune et chacun 10 000 $? Which two male and two female wrestlers will be the ones going home with $10,000 each? Voici les matchs. Here's the wrestling card. Mia Malek versus Sandra Lee.
Bonjour, Montreal. Mia Malik is on her way to Lucha Academy Van Van Catford.
It's that time already. Montreal, I'll see you soon.
Jeremy Prophet et Maverick Wheeler versus Chisel Chad Daniels and Charlie Hubley.
Je vais démolir mes adversaires et gagner tout en représentant les Québécois.
It's time for the Maverick to return to Montreal.
Chad Daniels is going to chisel his way through the competition.
Montreal, it's time. The Matriarch Sage Mo versus Dara Zip.
Everyone knows who has the most potential here, and it ain't you.
The Prospector Wes Barker et Vinny Da Vinci versus Sebastian Wolf and Narcissus Saint.
The Prospector is saddling up and riding a horse into Montreal.
Wrestling at the Da Vinci Center? I was born for this.
Lucha Academy 2024. It's time.
Adresse spéciale, Special Attraction, Chantal versus Impact, WWE NXT, and AEW alumni Amber Nova.
Montréal, it's time. À bientôt.
Et que penser de cette confrontation? And what about this match? The Canadian Crusher, AJ Sanchez, versus the Zombie Killer, Mentalo.
Montreal, here I come. Lucha Academy, it's time.
Thank you to our major sponsors. Merci à nos commanditaires principaux. Le groupe Ménard, le groupe Millennium Micro, la taverne Vieux Champier, Christian Labelle, conseiller Beneva, Auto électrique Gagnon, SMT, Service Mobile et CKBL, la radio officielle de Lutte Academy. Achetez vos billets à cldv.ca. Purchase your tickets at cldv.ca. Qui ira s'entraîner au? Who will go train at Bandido's Gym et lutter pour and wrestle for Big Lucha in Mexico? Qui ira lutter pour? Who will go wrestle for Kyushu Pro Wrestling in Japan? En vedette, une performance live d'Atomic Train. It kicks off with a live performance by Atomic Train. Ça commence le 28 septembre au centre Leonardo da Vinci. It all starts on September 28th at the Leonardo da Vinci Center. Les meilleurs talents de lutte du Canada convergent à Montréal. Canada's best wrestling talents are converging in Montreal.
That's amazing. Incredible. The list of talents that you have is insane. Jacques, my good friend, welcome back to Straight Talk Wrestling. Let's get into Wrestling Academy, man. I am stoked for this year's competition.
You know, George, we're so excited, you know, and the word in French is fébrile. Like, you know, we're shaking about this because, you know, it's becoming so big from year to year, and the caliber is getting stronger every year. The non-believers have disappeared, and everybody anybody in wrestling, they're all participating in Wrestling Academy, and we got so many things that we need to talk about, George, like, you know, but and the judges and the competitors and the special guests and it's coming close to 28th of September, and you're talking about a show now. You're talking about a competition. It's a wrestling show, but it's also a reality show because you have judges and they really perform, and it's not pre-planned. It's like, you know, you're really there and you got to perform. You're only as good as your last performance. And you got talents, like I say, from all over Canada, and they've been sending in videos. I've been meeting them across Canada, doing personal appearances in every federation across Canada, and now it's coming to it. It's like it's all coming down, and it's so exciting, George.
Absolutely is. And what's cool about like these dog days of summer, you're going around all these different federations that you and I actually had a chance to finally meet in person. We had a chance to grab an amazing photo, and we had a chance where you actually cut a promo with me. And I screwed up the Mountie saying on purpose because I knew you would correct me and go right into it, and you knocked it out of the park. It was so good to meet you in person, and you are seriously one of the most genuine human beings I've ever met in my life. And I want to tell you, between you and me, I appreciate your friendship and everything you've done for Straight Talk Wrestling, because you continue to give us the time, which means the world to us.
Well, thank you, George. And we got to remember where you come from, but now we got to remember where we're going, and we're going at Wrestling Academy. And on the 28th of September, it's the first quarterfinals, and we got such great matchups that you just saw in the video. And it's amazing because the talent coming from every province, and they're all so nervous, and it's funny because we recruited them like 10 months ago. We had like 71 videos that we had to cut down to 34, 71 of the greatest talents in Canada, male and female, and we had to cut down to 20 men and 14 women. And it's like it was so hard to do because there's so much good talent across Canada. And now as we're approaching, it's amazing the things that are happening. Like just a couple of days ago, I signed a match between Kat Von Ease on the 16th of November. That's going to be the finals, where there's going to be 4 against 4, and as you know, the 4 winners are winning $10,000 each, and winning a trip to Mexico for a week, everything paid, and then winning a trip to Japan for a week, everything paid, training and wrestling. And we just signed up Giselle Shaw, and she's one of the greats of TNA, and she's going to be going up against Kat Von Ease, the winner of Wrestling Academy of the Woman last year, just in an exhibition match the night of the finals. And then we have Amber Nova, who I've been meeting in meet and greets across the world, actually in the States many times. And she's the girl that her father was a mechanic, and and she lives that gimmick of a mechanic, and she's such an entertainer. And so I have her pairing up in the first night on the 28th of September against one of the contestants, the ladies, that had a free pass to go to the semifinals, because we had an uneven number of ladies. One got hurt during the 10 months, so we had one uneven number. So I decided, instead of just passing her on, we said, hey, I invited Amber Nova from the States to come and have a match with her, so the fans in Montreal at Leonardo da Vinci will have a chance to see her in action against Chantal, who's a great prospect in the ladies. And then but to get back to the competition, George, what's so fun about it is, like, on an ordinary show, the talent across Canada, they go to their show wherever it is, they perform, and after the show they just pack up their bags and they go home, and job is done. But this is completely different. Now they get to the arena 10 months after this has been booked, and we get on Zoom a month before the show. Like, I'm starting this week to get on Zoom with all the talent. Like, one could be in Vancouver, the other one in it could be in New Brunswick, and we flip a coin, heads or tails, to see who's going to win the match. And that's all. And then we put the match together. We take their ideas, we take my ideas, and we make a great match. So in a month from now, when they come, they deliver their match in Leonardo da Vinci on the 28th of September, their quarterfinal match. But now the match is done. They stand in the ring, and now the real action starts, because everything was predetermined in their match. Then it becomes improvised, because now from then there's 4 judges by the ring, and now they're going to be judged on their ability in the ring, their gear, their charisma, their interaction with the crowd, their interview before their match. They have a 30-second interview they got to do live at the show. And so these 5 criteria, the 4 judges are by the ring, and they're taking notes during the match. And after the match, they're standing there, one each side of the referee, and then the judges start undressing them, and they start saying, this was good, this was good, I like that about you, I like that about you. But tonight, I'm going with you. And then it's like, oh my God. And then sometimes you have 4 judges. So depending on how many judges go with the same person, or it's amazing. And when the final decision happens, if there was going to be a tiebreaker, there's 4 judges, then I'm going to step in. But this year I pulled myself out as being a judge because I made too many friends in the last 3 years, and I don't want to have the position to say you're going home and you're going for $10,000 on all the trips. But if it comes down to being an even number, 2-2, then I'll have to step in. But it's amazing to see. I remember last year in the finals, it was amazing, even the semifinals, to have the decision rendered, and some of the talent break down to their knees, and some break down because they were sad, and some broke down because they were happy, because they were chosen, and the emotions are real. The judges, it's not rigged. Everything is done professionally, and you have 525 people watching behind the judges, so you can't fool them, because the best judges in the world are the wrestling fans, so they're going to be watching what's going on, and they're already going to have their idea who's going to be winning and not, so the judges better be fair. So it's a great competition.
Absolutely. And this is our third year. Every year's gotten bigger, every year's gotten better, every year's gotten more on the line. The first 2 years was, going to the Nightmare Factory, training with, QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes and all those guys over there. But now we're going globally. This isn't North American anymore. This is global. You got ties in with Big Lucha in Mexico with Bandito at his gym. And then you got ties into Japan. And I don't want to pronounce the promotion wrong, so I'm going to let you pronounce the promotion.
Kyushu Pro Wrestling. I have a hard time too, don't worry. Kyushu Pro Wrestling.
So how did that come? I mean, how did we go from North American to global now? This is what's intriguing the most.
Well, it was just fun, and a lot of the people don't know that, but the best tool you can have in a toolbox to become a great professional wrestler is going to Japan. Because if you go to Japan, you're going to find out it's tough over there. The guys are, in my language, the guys are stiff. The guys make it look good, and you're gonna, if you're a man, you're gonna make it in Japan. And that's my saying, and a lady too. But it's tough wrestling. It's really hard down there. And so if you got in your storyline or your book that you've wrestled in Japan in the past, then the promoters look at you like, oh yeah, you went to Japan, huh? And then the other criteria too is like Mexico. A lot of people think, you go on a cruise ship or something and you stop in Mexico, you see a bunch of masks and, oh yeah, the lucha libre is popular, but this. But let me tell you something, it's much more than that, George. When you go to Mexico, there's a couple of things that happen over there. First of all, it's very, very high altitude. So it's like Salt Lake City. It's like a couple of places in the States. I'm thinking in Colorado too, Colorado Springs, a couple of places where you go and there's no air. So when you learn to work in Mexico, your cardio becomes so amazing. And the other thing when you go to work with Mexico is it's the only place on the planet that I've wrestled around the world, and it's the only place in the planet where they wrestle with the right arm. Like in professional wrestling, you always grab the left arm. Notice in the matches in our days and everything, you always work with the left arm. But in Mexico, it's with the right arm. So if you learn to work ambidex with the two arms, then you put that in your toolbox, and then you just got yourself another level. And so with Mexico and with Japan and touring there, I think it's just amazing. Another thing I want to bring to the attention of people too, you could follow this competition on wrestling-academy.ca. Wrestling-academy.ca. You could see the last 2 seasons, and you could follow our season. We're starting on the 28th of September, but it's going to be about a week later by the time we edit it, put it together. Go on wrestling-academy.ca. Follow this. Amazing, the biggest competition. And the other thing too I want to bring up is the judges. Everybody knows the fabulous Rougeau brothers that know my brother Raymond, who's the mayor of his city now. But Raymond Rougeau has been in the business for 40 years, and then there's this guy called Gino Brito, he's a guy in the days that he used to wrestle with Dominic DeNucci, Tony Parisi, Dino Bravo. It was the Italian connection. But Gino Brito is a legend. Gino Brito wrestled for my dad and my uncle. He booked for my dad and my uncle. He owned the territory with Bravo and Martel International Wrestling. He knows wrestling. So those judges are good. And then the other guy is Tony Gattilio. Tony Gattilio is a student of Gino Brito, but for 30 years now, he's been singing like Elvis Presley around the world. He's a performer. So he's going to go get the charisma side of the talent. He knows the interaction with the crowd. He knows how to do that. And the other guy, which nobody knows, and it's amazing, he's really so important to me. His name is Eric Young. Eric Young, he's not a wrestler. He's not the same Eric Young. I heard there's a wrestler called Eric Young, but he's not even close to it. Eric Young is the owner of a production company in Montreal, the biggest production company. It's called Entourage. So I've been trying to get this project on TV for 3 years now. No success. So this year I brought the company to my competition. So this guy is the owner of the production company. He's going to be sitting at ringside. He's going to be watching the show, living the emotions, and he's going to be a judge. He's going to have to put his neck out on the ropes and send someone home or send someone for the gold. And so if it's a make or break this year, it's making it or breaking it. So the judges are amazing this year, 4 different kind of judges, and the prizes, like I say, these guys, these wrestlers across Canada, they work so hard, they train all the time, they work hard, and they go work for $100 a night, $200 when they're lucky, and then now they have a chance to go win $10,000. I have a lot of fun when I talk to the talent, and I try to cheer them up and I try to encourage them during the year, and I always come up with this line like, "Hey guy, I believe in you, and imagine if you win, you could buy a new kitchen." So and and some of them, it's so funny because Chantal and the giant Orion, they're a couple, they live together. So I tell them they could buy a motorhome or something, because if they both win, that's $20,000. But anyway, I'll have to say that it's a lot of money for them. It's a lot of money, a lot of money for investing in ring gear and training and traveling and all that stuff. So this competition is known now to be the biggest competition around the globe for wrestlers that are not in the big leagues. But the talent, I got to tell you, George, you've seen the talent. You've seen Jesse Rickman that we saw the other day. You've seen the talent from all over. The guys, the only reason why they're not in the big leagues, most of them, I would say 80% of the talent that's in Wrestling Academy could be in the big leagues, any of them, 80%. And many of them, it's because they weren't at the right place at the right time, or they didn't know the right people. And I think that this competition is going to be a trampoline, a stepping stone for them to get known, because, as you know, I'm doing a podcast with you, but I do them in Europe, I do them in the States, I do them in Australia. I use my notoriety to get all the people out there to go watch and to check wrestling-academy.ca, where they could see all the talent. They could click on the pictures of the talent. They could see the videos of them, the highlights of them. So I'm giving them a platform for visibility, and it's just an amazing contest.
It absolutely is. And every year, like I said, it's gotten bigger, it's gotten more notoriety, and we're starting to see these talents that, like you said, normally wouldn't have the spotlight on them. If you were in the territories and you were in the indie scene, you could see them here and there in your hometown, your home promotion. But to be put out there globally is a huge step. And like you said, you're right, $10,000 is a lot. And I have to ask, every year's crop is special. This year's crop is intriguing. And I say that because you have some character-based wrestlers that are fantastic. One of my personal favorites right off the hop, Tarzep. Tarzep is intriguing to me. So I want to know, I'm going to say it right now. That's my favorite. That's the one I'm thinking is going to go all the way. That's I'm picking my winner right there, Jacques. That's what I'm saying.
Have you seen her wrestle?
Oh, yes, in person. I've called a few of her matches. She is incredible.
Really? I have never seen her before. I can't wait to see her. But one thing is funny. I got to give you something that's funny off the record, but I'll put it on the record. Is we talked today. I talked to Tara today, this morning, and I said, Tara, I said, within the next week, I got to get you and Sage Mo. I got to get you on the phone, on Zoom, and we got to start putting your match together. And she answered me. She said, is our match predetermined? And I answered her back. I said, from the flip of a coin. And she says, oh, yeah, well, that's pretty weird. That's because she doesn't know nothing about Wrestling Academy. I said, yeah, but I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to make sure that both of you talent put the best of what you could do on the table, and you both look the greatest. So I said, don't worry, trust me. And she answered me back. She says, okay, I'll trust you, Jacques. And, so I there's a lot of talent that I've never seen work. I have never seen Sage Mo work. I've never seen a guy called Wes Barker out west. There's a lot of guys. There's Narcissus Saint. There's so many guys that I don't even know that I've never seen. But when I talk to the talent, I talk to Jeremy Prophet in Montreal, who's representing Montreal, and I ask him sometimes. I said, "Hey, Jeremy, what do you think of this guy? Is he good?" "Oh, yeah, Jacques, this guy's good. This guy's good, but he's not as good as me. But he's good. He's good. He's good." And so it's like, but he's telling me that the caliber this year is dangerously good.
It absolutely is. I'm very intrigued by it. I watch every year. I enjoy the product so much, and I enjoy everything, how special it is. And you're right, that raw emotion at the end, the winning, the losing, all of it that comes into fruition, seeing your dreams come true, it's huge. And now that these wrestlers are going to have a chance to train two different styles across the world, opposite from each other, is amazing. It's incredible to be able to put these things in your toolbox, like you said.
George, if you have a chance, you need to come and live this in Montreal. There's 4 dates: the 28th of September and the 26th of October are the quarterfinals. And then on the best of the 28th are going against the best of the 26th on the 2nd of November. And then the best of the 2nd of November are coming back on the 16th of November, the last 8. 4 men and 4 women, and they're coming for the gold, for all the money and the prizes. If you were there, George, I swear, you being a wrestling fan, and I saw you the other night with Chris Thorne's special in Hamilton, and I know you love the business and all that. I guarantee you that you'd watch this show, you'd come live this show. I'll get you 2 VIP seats if you come to Montreal.
All right, I got to see. I do have a friend's wedding in November, so I may not be able to make the November dates, but the September dates are definitely a possibility. I will let you know and keep you posted 100%.
I would be honored. I would be honored.
I would be honored, please. My one question, I got to switch away from Wrestling Academy just for a little bit because I do want to talk about something somber that happened this past week in pro wrestling. We lost Sid Vicious, a great talent, someone that you know very well, someone that you spoke highly of, and I just want to get your thoughts out there for Sid Vicious and how sad this really is.
Well, you know what's sad about it is a couple of weeks ago I was sitting right beside him at a Comic-Con, and he was so different than when he was on the road. Like, when you're on the road and you're fighting for your position, you're fighting for your life, for the WWF or WWE, or you're in a stress mode. Like, you got to get better, you got to make it to the top. But I met Sid a couple of weeks ago, and it was a complete different guy. He wasn't fighting for anything anymore. He was just a simple Sid, and we had a great talk. And it's so funny because I remember that it was intense when I met him. I'm going to tell you a story in a minute, but before we get to that story, he was very intense when we met. He was like he was a monster. Like, he was like upper, and he was like aggressive, and he was I'm trying to find the right word, but he was like he wouldn't stand still. And 2 weeks ago, he was like, when I came to his table because I saw him in the corner, and I said, "Hey Sid," I said, "Remember me?" And he said, "Jacques," and he took me and he gave me a big hug. And then it was like, "How you doing, my friend?" He took me in his arms, and it was like, holy shit, this is not the same atmosphere we had when we were on the road fighting for our lives. But I'm going to tell you something. He was so nice, and he never talked to me about cancer or nothing. He never talked to me about how he was sick or nothing. Everything was like, it was all about positivity. And so that's what hurt me the most is like, so many guys hide behind some diseases or besides some facts sometimes in life that are hard or something. He was a gentleman. He was a real professional. He didn't want to burden me with his problems. He just wanted to bring some joy and bring some good time. And I want to tell you a story with me and Sid, because one night I can't remember what night it was, but anyway, somebody will find out. Somebody will write it. And then Macho Man quit Vince on a last minute note. They had an argument, and I don't know why that could happen. But anyway, he had an argument with Vince, and Randy said, "Goodbye, I'm leaving." But he was the big main event babyface that night, and he left the building. So Vince got Sid Vicious, and he brought him into the room, and then he called me into the room, and then he said, "Sid," he says, "I need for you to play the hero tonight. He says, I need for you to be a big baby face. You need to replace Randy that just left." And Sid looked at him and he says, "Vince, I can't be a hero. I got too much heat." He says, "People hate me." And he says, "Don't worry, Sid." He says, "I'm gonna fix that." And then he says, so he says, "Jacques," he says, "you're gonna go in the ring and you're gonna cut a promo." And then he says, "Sid, you're gonna walk out." And then you're just gonna earlier in the evening before his main event match. And so I was preparing the table for him. And Sid looked at Vince. He says, "Nah," he says, "that's not gonna work, Vince." He says, "The Mountie doesn't have more heat than me." And Vince says, "Well, let's try it anyway." So I got out there and I got onto the mic and I said, I started cutting my promo about Canadian law enforcement officer. And I said, you know what? I've been looking into this 20,000 people crowd here tonight. And you know what? I don't think I see any men in this place. I think I see only a bunch of hillbillies, and as a matter of fact, and I said, as a matter of fact, I just came out of a dressing room where there's another bunch of hillbillies, another bunch of people that think they're men, but there's nobody man enough to meet me. And then by that time, Sid music played and Sid walked out. And the people just went wild. Like Sid had become the biggest baby face of his life. And so that was so amazing because I was so happy that Vince used me to turn Sid babyface, coming out of the heel. And that created a moment between me and Sid because when I got into the ring, he just whacked the hell out of me. Boom, boom. He gave me his finisher and bang, and he beat me right there in the middle. Didn't even pin me, just left. And and then I was crying in Jimmy Hart's arms, after. And when he came back in the main event, he was big baby face. And it was like Macho Man was never on the card. It's like, Vince had a way of doing things, of repairing things, of fixing things when crisis happened. You got to give that credit to Vince. So I always had that good souvenir of that good time that with Sid. We were happy because when he came back to the dressing room after that segment, he came back to me and he came and he shook my hand. He says, "Oh man, are you okay?" He says, "Did I hurt you with my move?" I said, "No, not at all." I said, "You were perfect, Sid. You were just great." And it created a bond, I should say, like between me and him. And the next time I saw him was 2 weeks ago at the Comic-Con. Like in my memory. I have 30 years, 35 without seeing him, 30 some years. And so Sid was kind of, I wasn't a great friend of Sid, but we had a bond together. And when we met after that bond, some people got to understand this, George. Like in our days, it was different than today. In our days, for 10 years, I was on the road 25 days a month, and I'd go home I had 5 days to go home, 2 days to travel, and 3 days with my family. And then we'd take off for another 25 days, 21 days, 25 days, and we were always gone. So our family was the boys. We spend more time with the boys than we did with our families and our kids and our life. So whether all these misunderstandings and all these and all these people that you get along with, it's a family, and it's like people that have family at home, brothers and sisters. You get along with some and you fight with some, but at the end, when you grow older, everybody loves each other. Everybody, because you're family. And so when I saw Sid 2 weeks ago, and it was like, and we took ourselves in our arms, and I put a picture on my Facebook. If you go check my Facebook out, Jacques Rougeau's personal Facebook, you'll see the picture, one of the pictures, and you could see the love, the respect that we have one or the other, and how we were happy to see each other. Somebody took that picture. It was so funny at the same time that we were meeting. So rest in peace, Sid. And he was a guy who always took the business seriously. So hats to him.
Absolutely. That was an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. That was incredible. Before I let you go, let's get back to Wrestling Academy real quick. We're going to wrap it up. I'm going to put all the dates. I'm going to put the website in the description below of this video so everyone can follow along, keep along, and stuff like that. But I have to get back to my question. When we look at this year's crop, is there anyone that's really, really intriguing to you? We talked about Tarzan, we talked about a few, but is there anyone that you specifically have your eye on that you want to see how far they can really go?
You're putting me on the spot, George, because you really are, because the like I said, the talent is amazing. I don't want to. I feel bad if I mention names, but if I'm throwing out names out there, just not because I just like to see the evolvement of like Riley Rose.
Yes.
Riley Rose, Relentless Riley Rose. She came the first year, and then and she got eliminated, and by pure luck we had a drawing because there was a girl that got hurt, so she came back in another round and she got eliminated, and then QT Marshall had to choose someone that Harley Cameron had to wrestle. I call her Harley Davidson, but it's Harley Cameron, and she had to wrestle someone. So I asked QT, who do you want, and he says, well, make it Riley Rose, and he was intrigued by her. So she's very young. She was the youngest, actually, the first year that QT didn't choose her, because she was 17 years old, and she had to be 18 years old to go wrestle in the States, you know, and to even to go at the gym over there. And then but he had an eye on her then. So she's potential. But you got the Wanda Del Rey, you got Zoe Sager, you got that's awesome. You got Jessica Black from Montreal. You know, she won the first year. She won the first year. You got Chantal. You got I'm trying to think of all the names that we got. The other ones I don't really know that well. You got Zandra Lee, who made her appearance last year, very young, but she only had, like, when she came to Wrestling Academy, she only had like 9 matches, I think, and she eliminated their first opponent, you know, and she was a natural. So there's a lot on the girl side. On the men's side, you know, I've always had a couple of flashes. You know, I'm thinking, God, Danny Warren. I'm thinking of Mentello, AJ Sanchez. I'm thinking of Chad Daniels. I'm thinking of God. I'm thinking of Bobby Sharp, who's recovering from an injury right now. Imagine he got injured. He got injured last year during the competition, and now he got injured like a month ago, and he's doing rehab right now, and his show is in 2 months, and he keeps calling me and saying, Jacques, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. He's the Lion Warrior, yeah, he's something else. Then you got the Giant Orion, you got Cody Brown, you know, which is Little Blay. You got there's so much Da Vinci, the little Da Vinci, Matt, what's it called, Vinny Da Vinci. He's going to Leonardo da Vinci Center. Imagine how much he's going to have adrenaline, you know. And then you got an old guy from Vancouver there. Comment ça s'appelle, l'écrivain, Vince Nevada. You know, he's an older guy. And then you got he's champ. He's doing so well. He's up in age, but he's doing so well. Then you got Sean Martin, you know, who's he's calling himself the showstopper. I met him a couple of years ago, a little green, but he's coming on real strong. There's so many names, and I apologize for those who had. But like I said, everybody in the men's competition, every one of them is candidate to win this thing. It's possible to win this thing. So once again, the ladies and the men that I didn't mention, it's just because my brain's, because you're all deserving. You're all deserving. To everybody you've seen this video, if you go check the video at the beginning of this show, you better watch out, because you know they're coming, and they're coming strong this year. And so now you got me in trouble now, George. I hope you're happy.
Absolutely didn't get you in trouble. What you did was segue perfectly, because at the end of this, I'm going to replay the video again, and there's some great talents that you mentioned, and and there's a lot of history, like you said, with some of these talents. You can go back to wrestling-academy.ca to follow along with the first 2 years. You see what I did there, Jacques? It was a segue. It was a perfect segue.
Thank you.
But honestly, Jacques, I appreciate the time as always. I appreciate the ability to have these conversations with you, and I appreciate the fact that what you're doing for these young talents to get the opportunity to put more tools in their toolbox is incredible. And Wrestling Academy is getting bigger every year, to the point where I guarantee I'm going to put my stamp on it. By the 5-year anniversary, this show is going to be on regular rotation on a lot of great TV stations, TSN, Sportsnet included, and it's going to be something that it's going to be can't miss. I guarantee it.
Well, thank you so much. I know one thing, it's taken a lot of my time. I didn't even have time to shave today. But anyway, it's taken a lot of my time, but now it's getting in the really exciting time where now, starting next week, I'm starting to put the talent on Zoom, putting their matches together. So they're going to have like 3 weeks ahead of time to go at night and go to bed and read their matches on the sheet, and just try to see the match, to visualize the match, to visualize the judges, to work the cameras, the hard cameras, and they got to think of all that, because when they're coming out there, they're going to have to give the performance of their life. And what's fun about this competition, what I really have noticed in the last 2 years, is you have some veterans that are out there 15, 20 years in the business against guys that are in the business like 3, 4, 5 years. But you know what's fun about that? I'll tell you what's fun about that. There's a big secret about wrestling. There's 3 kind of nights that you could have in the wrestling world that I could remember of. You could have a bad night, where things are just awkward, it's just clumsy, it's just not coming out. You do it good every night, but one night it's just not coming out good. Then you can have good nights, where everything you do comes out good. the timing's there, the people's there, everything you do, it comes out. And then you have the third night, it could be a great night. And so you could have the guy, the veteran, that's been in the business 20 years that has a bad night. You could have the young guy that's been 2-3 years in the business and he has a great night. And that could make that the younger talent could beat the older talent. It just depends on what kind of night you're going to have. So that's why the stress is so big. So I can't wait. I'm anticipating so much to see who's going to handle the pressure, who can't stand the heat is going to get out of the kitchen, and who's going to be able to cook.
I love that. I love that. I think that's the best way to end this, guys. As always, the dates will be listed below. The website will be listed below so you can catch up on the previous seasons. And of course, I will show the video as we say goodbye. As always, one of my favorite people, Jacques Rougeau, thank you so much for your time. I'm your host, your boy, George Mackay. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Le temps est presque arrivé. It's almost time. Lutte Académie de Jacques Rougeau, ça commence le 28 septembre à Montréal. Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy starts on September 28 in Montreal. Qui passeront en demi-finale? Who will go on to the semi-finals? Quelles sont les deux lutteuses et deux lutteurs qui gagneront chacune et chacun 10 000 $? Which 2 male and 2 female wrestlers will be the ones going home with $10,000 each? Voici les matchs. Here's the wrestling card. Mia Malek versus Sandra Lee.
Bonjour, Montreal. Mia Malik is on her way to Lucha Academy, Van Van Katzler.
It's that time already. Montreal, I'll see you soon.
Jeremy Prophet et Maverick Wheeler versus Chisel Chad Daniels and Charlie Hubley.
Je vais démolir mes adversaires et gagner tout en représentant les Québécois.
It's time for the Maverick to return to Montreal.
Chad Daniels is going to chisel his way through the competition.
Montreal, it's time. The Matriarch Sage Mo versus Dara Zip.
Everyone knows who has the most potential here, and it ain't me.
The Prospector Wes Barker et Vinny Da Vinci versus Sebastian Wolf and Narcissus Saint.
The Prospector is saddling up and riding a horse into Montreal.
Wrestling at the Da Vinci Center? I was born for this.
Lucha Academy 2024. It's time.
Adresse spéciale, Special Attraction, Chantal versus Impact, WWE NXT and AEW alumni Amber Nova.
Montréal, it's time. À bientôt.
Et que penser de cette confrontation? And what about this match? The Canadian Crusher, AJ Sanchez versus the Zombie Killer, Mentalo.
Montreal, here I come. Lucha Academy, it's time.
Thank you to our major sponsors. Merci à nos commanditaires principaux. Le groupe Ménard, le groupe Millennium Micro, la taverne Vieux Champier, Christian Labelle, conseiller Beneva, Auto électrique Gagnon, SMT, Service mobile et CKBL, la radio officielle de Lutte Academy. Achetez vos billets à cldv.ca. Purchase your tickets at cldv.ca. Qui ira s'entraîner au? Who will go train at Bandido's Gym et lutter pour and wrestle for Big Lucha in Mexico? Qui ira lutter pour? Who will go wrestle for Kyushu Pro Wrestling in Japan? En vedette, une performance live d'Atomic Train. It kicks off with a live performance by Atomic Train. Ça commence le 28 septembre au centre Leonardo da Vinci. It all starts on September 28 at the Leonardo da Vinci Center. Les meilleurs talents de lutte du Canada convergent à Montréal. Canada's best wrestling talents are converging in Montreal.
Thank you so much for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw today, please feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our future videos and content. Also, you could follow us on all social media platforms. On X at _Straight Talk. On Facebook and Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling. On TikTok at Straight_Talk_Wrestling. And of course, you could follow us on Podbean,